So you're marketing a fitness business online and you keep hearing about this concept called branding and you're not totally sure if you understand what it means. We're going to change that by the end of this video. Hi, my name's Mariah. Welcome to Wealthy Boss Biz. I teach online barre, yoga, and Pilates, also teach in person, and I love helping other fitness instructors learn how to leverage their impact and their income through online awareness. Today, we're going to talk about what is branding and how do I build one for my fitness business without spending a ton of money or hiring a ton of experts. So, branding, when you really boil it all down, is just a big fancy word for your vibe. It's how you come across to others. Now, especially this is important on the internet where you're not getting to hang out in person. Oftentimes, what we put onto the internet is recorded ahead of time, or it's coming across through visuals or through audio. So it's not exactly the same thing as just hanging out with someone in person, right? Now, the cool thing is we can be intentional about these branding concepts to really get the audience that follows us or the community that we're building to get a really good sense of just kind of who we are and how we can help them. We really can build solid community through the internet, I believe, even with people that we've never met, by creating this vibe that helps people know, hey, this is my scene, or maybe, to be honest, maybe it's not. And you would rather have people that are super crazy devoted to you because they just really connect with your vibe, and have a few others that say, maybe I'm going to look elsewhere. That's actually a lot better than just trying to be kind of plain Jane trying to serve everyone. So if you think about your vibe, let's think about this in terms of like celebrities that we already know have strong brands. You may not have really called it a brand or thought to call it a brand before, but definitely we connect with this every day with those that we tend to follow or watch on social media or on TV. So think about like Lady Gaga versus Carrie Underwood. Both are phenomenal singers. They have incredible talent. They're extremely popular. But it's not just the sound of their voices that's different, right? It's everything. It's the whole vibe. It's the whole brand that they portray through TV and social media. So you think about everything from like the way that they dress, right? Like Lady Gaga, can't really think about it too much because I'm a vegetarian and it grosses me out, but she had that super famous meat dress that she wore that was in all the obviously tabloids. Can you see Carrie Underwood wearing that? Probably not. Carrie Underwood is very floral and very glamorous and very feminine. Everything from the type of language that they use, right? Like Lady Gaga really pushes the envelope with language and how she's come across. And of course, her brand has evolved over the years as well. Whereas Carrie Underwood is going to have, that very polished, very kind of girl next door, but glammed up to like the nth degree type of feel. So thinking about the differences between those two, it's not just looking professional. It's not just trying to look like you have a business put together, but really creating a strong impression. And so much of this has to do with who you are. When you are a solo brand that is trying to connect with a following online, the more that you can let your true personality shine through, the better. So you may be thinking that's all well and good, but what do I physically, practically do about it? Because branding does encompass a lot of things, from things that are a little bit more slippery, like the vibe and verbiage that you're putting out there, to some really concrete things like your aesthetics, right? Everything that we consume through screens is going to have some visual component to it. So I think that's a really easy place to start with branding basics, is to develop a cohesive visual aesthetic, just because that's a little bit more concrete than throwing things out there about your vibe and the personality that you want to portray. But we still get to pull those personality themes into it. So let's start with a super simple exercise that's going to help you determine your color schemes and your fonts that you use consistently throughout everything that you put out online. So again, this is going to kind of tie back in with your personality, but I'm going to have you sit and think of maybe 3 4 words at the most that describe the vibe you want people to feel when they connect with you, whether it's through a video, a social media post, when they come to your website. How do you want them to see you, or how do you want to make them feel? Now, you might also recruit someone who knows you really well and have them pick some words that best describe you. Sometimes we can be a little too close to kind of see what our own strengths or kind of dominant personality factors might be. So for example, if you describe your vibe as feminine and sparkly, you'd probably want to choose color schemes like pinks and golds, and maybe kind of throw some glitter, shiny stuff in there. And the fonts that you choose might be more like a cursive handwriting or kind of flowy and scripty. So maybe you want to be seen as edgy and dynamic. You'd probably choose strong color schemes like blacks and reds, and then maybe your fonts are going to be really bold, kind of in-your-face style of fonts. For myself, some words that I really like to use to describe my vibe and what I want my audience to walk away feeling are words like serene, natural, inspired, and balanced. So I'm going to choose colors that are based off of the desert that I live in that are really calming to me. So my brand colors are primarily an aqua green. I have a kind of a desert sage and a real soft muted brown that I use to do my social media posts and my videos and my website. And then my fonts are going to be real simple, clean, and unadorned. All right, so using those words as an inspiration to help narrow down your color choices, we're going to actually start to play with something called hex codes. Don't freak out, I'm going to walk you through it to determine your primary color, the one that you're really going to kind of use consistently and use predominantly throughout any visuals that you put on social media or you're online, and then 1 to 2 accent colors. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm going to be going into the free program Canva to determine what my hex codes are going to be. But really any graphic design software, any website design, anything that you are designing inside of is going to have an option to create your own hex codes. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a design. It doesn't really matter what design I choose from because I'm just using it for the purpose of discovering my codes, my color codes. I'm just going to do a Pinterest pin for now. I'm going to go into the background tab on Canva. Canva is free, by the way. If you don't have a Canva account, I use it all the time for all my social media posts and lots of other things. So this is just a free canva.com free account you can create. Now over here where you see this little palette next to the colors, the suggested colors on top, I'm going to click on that little palette. And then I'm going to want to go new color. So you see kind of this whole rainbow of options here. And notice in this little bar underneath, it has a bunch of letters. Hashtag followed by, 6 letters, I think is what hex code is. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't matter. It's always going to be the same. So right now we see that it's 6Fs because that is the default hex code for white. Now, if I say that I want to be kind of girly and sparkly with my vibe, that's kind of that feminine vibe I'm going to go for, and I have an idea that my primary color is going to be in the pink range, then I'm going to kind of drag this little bar over somewhere to kind of the pink range, and maybe I can kind of go, oh, I like a little bit more purpley pink, or a little bit more true pink, kind of bright pink, or here's almost like an orangey pink. Let's say I want to go just kind of true pink. From there, I'm going to drag this little kind of ball up here around, and notice how when I do that and I stop, when I lift it over here, I see what that exact shade is. So I can get really nuanced with what kind of shade I want. And as I do that, we see a new set of numbers and letters pop up here, which is the unique hex code. So I could go into my website, which is a completely different platform, my WordPress site. I could copy and paste this specific configuration that always, no matter what platform you're going to be in, is going to give me this exact same shade. Now, if I go over here, lift up there, it's a little bit darker pink, a little bit more of a hot pink, I get a separate set of code. So I'm going to copy and paste that code whenever I finally decide, it's going to take you a while maybe to determine that perfect shade of pink that's going to be that primary color. I'm going to copy and paste this, and then I'm going to save that either in a Trello app or maybe a note on my iPhone or just on my desktop, maybe on a Word document. And I'm going to refer to that anytime I'm creating new content, whether it's inside of Canva or a different platform. And then I would just go to do the same for my secondary, probably 1 to 2 accent colors. I would repeat the process. So now we picked out our brand colors that you are going to use almost exclusively anytime you create a graphic on social media. You'll think about this even when you're creating maybe professional photography. Maybe you want to choose a wardrobe, choose fitness clothing that matches that. If you go onto my website, you'll notice that I'm wearing that aqua color and a lot of my professional photography. Now I'll still do candid shots and I'll still film videos with me kind of wearing whatever. But really start to think about how you can carry this consistency throughout your theme. It's not only going to give you that very specific vibe, but it does make you look more pulled together and more polished and professional because the colors that you choose and the fonts that you choose are very intentional. So after you've chosen those colors, you would then kind of repeat the process for choosing a font. So of course you could do this inside of Canva. You could also pull up maybe a Word document and scroll through fonts. Do keep in mind that not every platform that you're ever going to create text in is going to have the same fonts. For example, I might have some fonts that are not available on my website that are available in Canva, but you at least want to maybe pick out some fonts, maybe 1 to 3 fonts that are complementary that kind of give off the same vibe. For example, within the Canva app, I use the Code font primarily, also a little bit of Quicksand and Helvetish, but they are all very clean and minimalist. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me to be in a program and then do like a really cursive handwriting script for a post that I was going to do. So keep in mind, you might have to have a little bit more leeway depending on if you create visual text in different platforms like Canva versus your website versus maybe your movie editing software. But try the best that you can to have a really cohesive look. If you're going to stick with more swirly, kind of cursive-y handwriting fonts, or maybe more clean, or maybe bold, try to stay within that same window. And then I really recommend when you're creating graphics to stick to about 2 to 3 total fonts that you use just on that consistent basis. So now that we have our visual brand really locked and loaded, it's time to talk a little bit about some of those more slippery concepts, and that is how you bring your message, bring your vibe, bring your personality through into your verbiage. So you just kind of want to keep that overall mood in mind when you're writing email newsletters, when you're writing the descriptions for your social media posts, even in how you come across on video, rather than being super formal, which I used to do, by the way. Back in the day, I felt like I needed to be all prim and proper and like really formal. And now I just let my personality shine through. I can be a little nerdy. I can be a little goofy. If I trip over my words, not a big deal, right? So let your personality come through in your direct camera video, in your emails, in your website verbiage, kind of your about page. That's super important. And if it's helpful, you can even create like a mood board on Pinterest, maybe a private board setting where you pin some things that are going to kind of help you remember what your vibe is all about, what your brand is all about. And I encourage you to get creative and put a lot of thought and effort into how you craft this verbiage. It should really just come across, whether it's in an email or whether you're talking into the camera, it should really come across as it would in everyday life if you were just sitting there having a conversation with someone. You can also begin to think about some thematic elements that bring a little spice, bring a little flavor into who you are that may not even have anything to do with your fitness, quote unquote, your fitness, because people do want to connect with you as a person. Now, we don't want to go so far to the extreme that we're just talking about ourselves all day long in a way that's irrelevant, that doesn't help you build community, because at the end of the day, you do have to layer in a lot of value. But Also, a little personality and a little bit of that one-on-one connection goes a long way. For example, I'm always talking about my chihuahuas. And in fact, in one of my Instagram accounts, I even mentioned that I'm a chihuahua lover. So the chihuahuas typically make it into my Instagram stories. In fact, since we're talking about that, I wasn't planning on showing them. I'll just duck out of the way. Where's one of them? The other one's hiding back there. So my chihuahuas are kind of Instagram famous. They make it into my posts and even sometimes my YouTube videos. And that's just kind of a thing, right? That's how I kind of help give people a glimpse into my everyday life. Values are really important as well. I encourage you to think of some brand values that are aligned with your personal values that you want to keep bringing into your messaging. Maybe that's once a week you're doing an inspirational post that talks about some of these themes, and they can be broad or they can be specific. Maybe you even have like a charitable cause that you want to either donate a portion of your proceeds to, or maybe you like to just bring awareness. I'm in the process of adopting, so I'm really passionate about international adoption. So I'll intentionally bring those into my business accounts to let people know kind of what I'm passionate about and the type of difference I want to make in the world. So all of those things, although those concepts are maybe a little bit more slippery, you just kind of always want to bring it back to what is the mood, what is the message, what is the impact that you want to bring, and how do you convey that visually? How do you convey that through your verbiage? And how do you convey that through the content of the things that you talk about and the ways that you motivate and inspire your community? So there you have it. You now are well on your way to creating a strong brand that has consistent use of one primary brand color and 1 to 2 accent colors. You have about 3 fonts that match that overall vibe or scene that you are trying to portray. You're beginning to think about how to let your personality and your values and kind of some of the thematic elements that are important to you shine through in the verbiage that you share, either through video, through email, through the written descriptions on your social media posts. And you're really giving your audience a chance to get to know you, to trust you, and to build that rapport with you, because we want to do business with those that we like. It makes sense. We trust the people that we like. We feel good about supporting them. So just keep that in mind. You are here to serve your audience, and just because there's a camera between you and your audience, we're all just people who are trying to connect and make our lives better. So I hope this has inspired you to help create your fitness brand. If you enjoyed it, I would love to hear about it. So drop me a comment. And next week, I'm going to be sharing with you how to create a YouTube fitness channel in 2020. So make sure that you are subscribed, or if you're watching this on my website, that you are signed up for email notifications. I can't wait to hang out with you and help you build this business that you love.